He was just a boy with a rose. She was just a woman with eyes full of pain. But when their paths crossed that night, the entire town woke up to a secret that had been buried for years. Before we begin, if you're ready for a heart-racing, mysterious story, hit that like button and tell me, from which country are you watching my video? I can see where my video is being watched, and it means a lot to me. The wind howled through the empty streets of Holleridge, a small town where nothing much happened. The streetlights flickered like they were trying to whisper secrets, and the air carried the scent of old leaves and silence. 11-year-old Danny Morgan walked alone, his hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets, clutching a single red rose. He didn't know why he had picked it up from the graveyard wall. He just had. Danny wasn't the kind of boy people noticed. Too quiet, too thin, and always staring out windows as if he was waiting for something or someone. He had no friends, his parents were always working or fighting, and the town mostly ignored him. That night, Danny was walking back home from the cemetery. He liked it there, not because he was strange, but because it was peaceful. He would read the names on the graves and imagine who those people had been. As he turned onto Maple Street, he saw her. She was sitting on the bench outside, the old Fletcher bookstore. Her face was pale, her lips colorless, and her eyes swollen as if she'd been crying for hours. She wore a long black coat, and her hair, gray with streaks of silver, was tied back loosely. No one else was around. Something about her pulled Danny forward. He stopped in front of her, looked at the rose in his hand, and without a word, offered it to her. The woman looked up slowly, confused at first, then her expression softened. Not with joy, but with something deeper. She took the rose gently like it was made of glass and whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was barely louder than the wind. Danny nodded and walked away without asking her name. He didn't need to. He just felt lighter. The next morning, the town was buzzing. People who usually didn't talk to each other were gathered around the town square. Police cars were parked near the bookstore, and yellow tape cordoned off the bench. News vans had already arrived. Something had happened. Mrs. Reeve, the town librarian, told the others what she saw first thing in the morning. She was just lying there, like she had fallen asleep, with a rose in her hand and a photo clutched to her chest. Danny stood at the edge of the crowd, heart pounding. He didn't understand. Had she died? Who was she? The police released. A name within an hour. Margaret LeClaire. A name that once meant nothing to the people of Holleridge. Until now, an old man, Mr. Denson, who had lived in town for nearly 70 years, turned pale when he heard the name. "My God," he whispered. "That's the woman who vanished after the fire at Bellwood Orphanage, 45 years ago." Now everyone remembered. The orphanage that had burned down mysteriously one night, killing 7 children. Margaret LeClaire had been the young woman in charge, and after the fire, she had disappeared. Rumors had spread that she had died, that she had run away, that she had caused it, but no one ever found her. Until now. A letter was found in her coat pocket, written in trembling handwriting. It told a story that no one expected. She hadn't vanished by choice. After the fire, she had fallen into a deep grief and shame. She blamed herself for not being able to save the children. The town had judged her too quickly, called her careless, even cruel. But what no one knew was that she had tried. She had run into the fire 3 times. She had burned scars that never healed. But the weight of 7 lives lost had broken her spirit. She had lived in isolation for decades in the woods just outside of town, surviving on odd jobs in distant towns under different names. But as time passed, the guilt became heavier than the silence. She wanted to come back, to face the town one last time. Her letter ended with this: "I came to leave a rose where they died, but I found kindness instead. From a boy with no words, only a flower. That one act told me maybe the world hadn't forgotten how to forgive." Danny stood still. He hadn't known her name. He hadn't known her past. But somehow he had given her the one thing no one else did: grace. Reporters wanted to find the boy with the rose. Who was he? No one knew. Danny didn't come forward. He didn't need the attention. All he knew was that something in his chest felt warm, like he had helped fix something invisible. The town changed after that. People who had held on to old grudges started letting go. A memorial plaque was placed outside the remains of Bellwood Orphanage with the names of the 7 children and Margaret LeClaire. Caretaker, survivor, not forgotten. And every year on the same night, a single red rose appears on the bookstore bench. No one sees who puts it there, but Danny knows. 1 year later, Danny returned to the same spot. He was taller now, stronger, but still quiet. He sat on the bench and looked at the stars. A voice startled him. "You gave her peace." He turned. It was Mr. Denson, the old man who had remembered Margaret's name. He sat beside Danny and nodded slowly. "I saw you that night. I didn't say anything, but I saw you hand her that rose. You changed something." Danny looked down, embarrassed. Mr. Denson continued, "You know. She wasn't the only one who needed forgiveness. This town owed her more than anyone admitted, and you reminded us of that." Danny didn't answer. He just smiled slightly and stood up. He placed another rose on the bench and walked into the night. That winter, the town started a new tradition. On the anniversary of the fire, people came out with candles and roses. They shared stories of those they had lost. And for the first time in decades, the bench outside the bookstore was never empty. One act of quiet kindness from a lonely boy had reminded a town that some stories don't end in flames. They wait, patiently, for someone to rewrite them with flowers.